courage to tell you why they believe it.
Romney outspent McCain 10-1 in Florida and lost. Because after they got all the ads, he was still Romney.
Well, the battle for South Carolina heating up. We can tell you there are a number of polls out. We'll show you the Real Clear Politics average of polls. One thing is clear. Newt Gingrich is picking up some points. The average has him down about 4.5%. Some polls have him closer than that. And there you see the other candidates. He is calling for the super PAC that is supporting him to make sure that all of its details, all of the details in that video about Bain Capital are accurate, otherwise pull it off the air. He says, I'm calling for the winning our future super PAC supporting me to either edit its King of Bain advertisement and remove its inaccuracies or pull it off the air and off the internet entirely. Furthermore, I am once again calling on Governor Romney to issue a similar call for the super PAC supporting him to edit or remove its ads, which have been shown to contain gross inaccuracies, something the governor has thus far refused to do. With that, we'll bring in our panel. Liz Marlantes, political reporter for the Christian Science Monitor. Nina Easton, columnist for Fortune magazine, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Okay, Liz, state of the race, what do you think?
Well, it's been interesting, and I would have to say, despite the polling, which is a little bit all over the map, I would actually anticipate that we would see Gingrich take a little bit of a hit based on the way he's been backpedaling on some of these attacks on Romney. We've seen a ton of conservative support actually rush over to Romney's side in reaction to these Gingrich attacks.
So you think that these polls are indicating that it just hasn't caught up yet?
I think it's hurting both of them.
But is it possible that in South Carolina, where unemployment is 10%, that perhaps that some of these statements are hitting home?
I think it's hurting both of them. I think it has absolutely, it's eroding Romney's support, but it's going to be one of those mutually assured destruction things where I think it's going to end up hurting Gingrich also. And who knows, we could see someone like Ron Paul actually perform better than expected as the standing third party who wasn't involved in this spat. But it has been ugly, and we've seen, many conservatives who were formerly in support of Gingrich coming out now in favor of Romney, and Gingrich, as we just saw, is trying to backpedal a little bit. And it's reminiscent of the Paul Ryan Medicare thing in a way. I mean, he goes out there and he makes these statements, and then he gets in trouble and he has to kind of try and cover his tracks. And it's not good for him.
That said, he is being aggressive, Nina, in a new web ad and potentially some more ads on TV. Just take a look.
Romney opposed the contract with America, raised taxes, and offered government-mandated health care with taxpayer-funded abortions. But now he tells us, trust me, I'm a conservative. Massachusetts moderate Mitt Romney, he'll say anything to win. Anything. And just like John Kerry,
Laissez-les bon temps rouler.
He speaks French, too.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Mitt Romney.
But he's still a Massachusetts moderate, and a Massachusetts moderate cannot beat Barack Obama.
Perhaps they knew that all the media would be interested in that French, speaking French. We should have a caveat here before you answer that your husband
is a Romney media advisor.
Yes.
And I have to say, I love that ad in particular. I think he's trying to change the subject now, Newt Gingrich, because I think the Bain attacks are not working. And I think Liz is absolutely right. This could have been and should have been very fertile territory for a Bain attack. But first rule of attack politics, you better have your facts in a row. You got to have all your ducks in a row, but your facts better be right. And what's happened with this is that he came out with that, there's his super PAC came out with that documentary. An analysis done by our magazine Fortune showed that, Bain did not buy the company they talked about. It didn't sell off a company they talked about. There's numerous inaccuracies in this, to the point where Gingrich it's been embarrassing for Gingrich, and he's had to distance himself. And ironically, and I was going back to that ad, at a time when he's trying to cast Romney as a moderate, ironically, this is a time where conservatives who were kind of tepid about Romney initially are rallying around him because they see this as an attack on the free enterprise system, the rough and tumble of the free enterprise system, and they think that his critics like Gingrich sound too much like Obama leftists. So you have people like Rush Limbaugh, and also Huckabee, by the way, sent out an email to his supporters criticizing GOP opponents who are taking the Bain line, saying, you sound like you Obama leftists. So I think I think these polls, I'd like to see these polls in a couple of days to see where all the Bain stuff plays out.
Well, in a couple of days, we head to this debate in Myrtle Beach. This is also has been fertile ground for Newt Gingrich debates. He's traditionally, most analysts would say, performed pretty well. So, as you head in there, does that change the dynamic as well?
Well, I do, because I think the Bain capital issue will be on the table there, and that'll be a chance for Romney to show that he has something he can say. Because I'm surprised. I think the Bain ads obviously are reducing Romney's lead. It may or may not help Gingrich in the end. Right now it's helping him, but it looks as if it might, in the longer run, hurt him, and perhaps the Santorum will slip through. But up until now, the Romney response, which is in the abstract, well, this is an attack on capitalism, hasn't worked. I think he's going to have a stronger answer in those debates. I think the issue we all know is what Obama is going to use. It's either going to be a poison or an inoculation. And the question will be, can he develop a good story? But I want to say on the last Gingrich ad, I was simply shocked. It's one thing if you accuse an opponent of raping and pillaging and enriching yourself. But accusing a guy of speaking French, that's a low blow. The next thing you know, he's going to say Romney eats snails.
Liz, final word. The other thing about those polls is that, one is that Newt Gingrich is surging. Two is that Rick Santorum appears to be falling, at least in these polls, and on the average.
Yeah, no, the polls are really all over the map. And again, ironically, as I noted earlier, there's actually been some upward movement for Ron Paul, who nobody has expected to do well in South Carolina, but could wind up pulling off something of a surprise there. Not that the media will necessarily give him a lot of credit again, but you know, he may prove to be the real fly in the ointment, as Charles has written about so well.
And I think conservatives are opening their eyes to the Ron Paul candidacy by the day and how much support there's really out there. Next up,